Hi everyone. Me today teach you chapter 5th, the fundamental unit of life of class 9 subject science. As you know, you studies in lower classes, the fundamental unit of life is known to the cell. It is firstly discovered by the Robert Hooke, who is a scientist born on 28 July 1635 in the freshwater of United Kingdom. He observed from the slices of cork through microscope. His observation says that cork is made of tiny and hollow compartments. He marked that it is looked strangely similar to salua or small rooms, which marks inhibitor, thus driving the name. However, Hooke actually says was a dead cell walls of the plant cells as it appeared under the well microscope. Now let's start. What is a cell? Cell is a structural and functional unit of living organism. It can exist independently and can perform the life processes. Just as a building is made up of bricks, the body of the living organisms is formed by cells. Unicellular organism like amoeba, paramecium is formed by single cells, while multicellular organisms may have billions of the cells in their body like human beings, right? The cells have some central position in the biology as the atom of the fundamental unit in the physical science. Let's talk about the characteristics of the cell. Cells are the building blocks of the plants and animals and all living organisms, right? A cell is capable of the independent existence and perform all the basic functions of life. Every organism starts its life as a single cell. Each cell has its own lifespan. The old and the worn out are continually replaced by new cells. As you know, many cells together form a tissue. Tissues together each other and form the organ. The organs work together as a system. The system and form an organism like the human being. Right? What are the living organism made up of? Let's talk about some activity. This is very easy activity. You can observe it at your home, right? Peel an onion and observe it under the simple microscope. We observe that some leaves and fruits like onion peel, live skin, etc. have well-defined cell walls and nucleus. These cells are easily observable by the simple microscope. So we use such a cell to observe cell structures. When we put onion peel on the microscope, we see well-defined cell wall on the nucleus as given in figure. Let's talk about cell structures. Structures look similar to each other. The invention of magnifying lenses led to discovering the microscope world. It is known that the single cell may constitute the whole organism as in amoeba, paramecium and bacteria. These organisms are called unicellular organisms and other hand cells group together in the single bond and assumes different functions in it to form various body parts in multicellular organisms like human beings, plants, fungi, animals. Some organisms have some of the cells, some are of the different kinds. Shape and size. Cells are related to the functions which they perform. Like in the amoeba, some cells changing its shape and some are does not able to change its shape. Fixed or a particular types of cells like nerve cell have a typical shape. In humans, every part perform different function like heart to pump blood and so on. Similarly, the cells perform different function like some are help to digest food, some are excreted out waste materials from body, etc. Cells are the basic unit of the life. Let's talk about the difference between plant cell and animal cell. Let's talk about the animal cell. Its size is smaller, oval in the shape, cell wall is absent, cytoplasm fills the entire cell and its dense. Vacuoles, if present, are smaller and many of the number are saturated. Nucleus present in the center, Golgi bodies highly ovated, present near nucleus. Plastids absent except in the protozoan and ulina. Cytosome possesses cytosol, stored food. Stored food is a form of glycogen and polysaccharides. In the plant cell, it's a comparatively larger in the size, usually rectangular in the shape. Cell wall formed of cellulose and present outside of the cell membrane. Cytoplasm forms a thin lining as it is opposed to the periphery by the vacuole. Vacuoles in mature plant cells, generally a single large central located vacuole is found. Nucleus present towards the periphery. Golgi bodies. Simpler units of Golgi bodies called diatosines and found saturated. Plastids present in the cytoplasm. Centrosome is absent. Stored food is the form of the starch and polysaccharides. In the chapter, we see the term eukaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Right? Let's we talk about eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic, primitive, nucleus cells are found in the bacteria and cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria means blue-green algae, right? General characteristics of prokaryotic cells. First, prokaryotic cell range in the size of 1 to 10 nu. They do not have the nucleus. The nuclear material lies naked, not bound by any membrane, in the center of the cells and remains the direct contact with the cytoplasm. The region of the cytoplasm with the nuclear material is called nucleoli. Prokaryotic chromosomes is formed by a single circular DNA molecule. And let's we talk about eukaryotic cells. E means true. Kryon means nucleus. Cells are found in all living organisms except bacteria and blue-green algae. That all plants, animals and fungi. General characteristics of the eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells include both unicellular and multicellular organisms. These size varies from 5 nu to 10 nu. They have a well-organized nucleus with a definite cell membrane. Therefore, nuclear material or hereditary material is isolated by cytoplasm. The DNA of eukaryotics remains bounded in the basic material. Let's we talk about their difference. Cell organization in the prokaryotic is unicellular and the eukaryotic is both unicellular and multicellular. Cell size in the prokaryotic cell, the size is 1 to 10 nu, but in eukaryotic the 5 to 100 nu. DNA from the prokaryotic cell is naked, but in the eukaryotic is combined with histidine protein forming chromatin. Chromosomes in the prokaryotic cell is single and cellular, but in a eukaryotic multiple and linear. Ribosomes are the smaller and saturated in the cytoplasm in the prokaryotic cells. In eukaryotic cells, the ribosomes are the bigger and attached to endoplasmic reticulum or free. Let's talk about cell theory. They have a silent features of the cell theory. Cell is a basic unit of the structure of all plants and animals. Cells is a basic unit of function as that a metabolic reaction takes place inside the cells. Cell is a unit of the hereditary as it contains hereditary material inside the nucleus. All living cells arise only from the pre-existing cells. Exceptions of the cell theory: viruses are not cells. They are nucleoprotein particles. Nucleic molecules like DNA and RNA is enclosed in the protein coat. Second, bacteria and blue-green algae, cyanobacteria, are not true cells. They are without nuclear membrane or cell organelles. The nuclear material is DNA alone. Some mold fungi have a cellular body. A protoplasm has many nuclei. Cell number, size and shape. Cells, how numerous they are. Depending upon the number of cells, organisms may be unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular organisms are made up of only one cell. Bacteria, yeast, paramecium, amoeba, Eulina, etc. are all the unicellular organisms. As you know, the multicellular organisms are made up of the several cells, like plants, animals, humans, made up of the billions of the cells, right? However, all multicellular organisms develop from the single cell called zygote. Cells, how small or large they are. The cells are so tiny that they can also only seen by the through the microscope. The smallest cell is a mycoplasm, a PPLO, measuring 0.1 to 0.15 micron in the diameter. The longest cell in the nerve cells measuring nearly 1 meter in the length. Cells, how different they appear. Cell shape. In the order to perform different functions, the cells inhabit different shapes in the different parts of the body and also in the different organisms. Some cells like amoeba with a white blood corpuscles can change their shape, whereas most plant and animals have cells are fixed. Right? Let's we talk about the functions they perform of the shape of cells, often related to functions they perform. Example: white blood cells, red blood cells, nerve cells, muscle cells. Let's we talk about structural organization of the cells. There are generalized animal cells is broadly formed by three major parts. These are plasma membrane, which also known as cell membrane. Second, nucleus. Third, cytoplasm with the cell organelles. The plant cells is a little bit different from animal cells. It has a cell wall and the vacuole in the addition of these structures. Plasma membrane, also called cell membrane, found in all cells that separate the interior of cells from outside environment. In bacteria and plant cells, all cells wall attached to plasma membrane on outside surface. It regulates transport of the material intrinsic and existing of cells. Its functions: it binds the semi-fluid content of the cells and gives a definite shape. Its function as a mechanical barrier protects cell contents and maintain internal environment of the cells. Being selectively permeable, plasma membrane permits only certain substance to pass through. How substance move in and out of the cell? There's the main function of the plasma membrane is to selectively control the entry and exit of substance inside and outside of the cells. Substances can enter the cell across the plasma membrane by following processes like diffusion, osmosis, endocytosis. Let's we talk about diffusion. Diffusion is a spontaneous movement of the particles or substance in a gas or liquid from a region of its higher concentration to region of its lower concentration until uniform concentration is achieved to both ends. The diffusion molecules move along concentration gradient and no energy is required. Example of diffusion: like diffusion is a substance across a biological membrane from the region of its higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration is called a passive transport. Its example: the exchange of respiratory gases, that's oxygen and carbon dioxide, between the cells and its external environment is an example of diffusion. What is the importance of the diffusion? Diffusion helps to exchange of respiratory gases. Diffusion of the material water results is osmosis. It helps to distribution and separate the different substances in the cytoplasm. Osmosis, the movement of the water molecules through the selectively permeable membrane from the region of higher concentration to region of the lower concentration is called the osmosis. Osmosis is the diffusion of the free water molecules across a semi-permeable membranes. Osmotic solutions and type of osmotic solutions: isotonic solution, hypertonic solution, hypertonic solution. Isotonic solution is the solution have some solute concentration, therefore water neither moves in the nor out through the membrane. 0.9% salt solution is isotonic in the human cells. There is no change in the size of the cell. Hypertonic solution of a two osmotic solution, the one having less solute and more water as compared to other, is called hypotonic or dilute solution. If the cell is placed in the hypertonic solution, that's in the solution having higher concentration of water or low concentration of solute, the cell will gain water by osmosis. The cell swells because more water molecules enter to the cell than will leave, resulting in the movement of water inside the cell. This process is called endomeiosis. Next is last, hypertonic solution. Of the two osmotic solutions, the one having more solute and the less water as compared to the another is called hypertonic or concentration solution. Overall, 1.25% salt solution or 10% glucose solution are hypertonic solution. If the cells is placed over the hypertonic solution, the cell will be lose water. More water molecules leave the cell than enter, resulting in the overall movement of the water molecules out of the cell. The cell wall will therefore shrink and reduce volume. This process is known as osmosis. Osmosis, right? Also known as osmosis. Importance of osmosis. Roots absorb water from soils by osmosis. Second, cell-to-cell movement of the water absorbed by the roots also takes place by osmosis. Passive and active transport. Passive transport, the movement of molecules by diffusion or osmosis, is called passive transport because no energy is spent by the cell during transport of the molecules from higher to lower concentration. Active transport, in living cells, some molecules and ions move from region of their lower concentration into cells having the higher concentration. The movement of the substance against concentration gradient is called active transport. The cells spends energy during their movement. Cell wall. Structural layer of the surrounding some types of cells just outside the cell membrane. It is a tough, flexible, and sometimes rigid. It works to provide the cell with a both structural support, protection, and also acts as filtering mechanism. Next part of the cell is the nucleus. It is a membrane-bound organelle that contains genetic material like DNA of the eukaryotic organ. As such, it serves to maintain the integrity of the cell's vitality, transcription, and repulsion process. Its function to control and regulates the activities of cells carriers genes. Cytoplasm. Thick solution of fills each cell and is enclosed by the cell membrane. It is mainly composed by water, salts, protein, fluid that fills cells and several important functions. Holds the internal components of the cells in place and protect it from damages. Next is ER. Network of membrane tubules with the cytoplasm of eukaryotic cells continues with the nuclear membrane. It usually has ribosome. It holds protein and lipids. Its function being important, particularly in synthesis, folding, modification, and transport food. Golgi apparatus, a complex of vesicles, folded membrane within the plasma of eukaryotic cells involved in secretion of intracellular transports. It is discovered by Golgi. Lysosomes. It is a membrane-bound cell organelles that contains digestive enzymes. Lysosomes are involved within various cells. Its function to break down or burn out cell plants used to destroy in invading viruses and bacteria. Next, mitochondria. Mitochondria is a membrane-bound cell organelles that is generate most of the chemical energy needed to power of the cell's biochemical reaction. It is a power bank of the cells. It provides energy. Like your phones have a power bank like its charger. Plastids, membrane-bound organelles found in the cells of plants. algae, some other eukaryotic organisms. They are considered endosymbiotic cyanobacteria discovered by the Ernest Haeckel. Next and last part is vacuoles. It is present in all plants and fungal cells and some of protist animals and bacterial cells. Thanks. I hope you understand well.